Joe Gardner helped to set up an organization of local black people to protect their own interests. Previously, the blacks had rioted in the streets to try to get their way. Now it was to be done peacefully using government money. When government funds became available, the Woodlawn organization got control. They used them to build the kind of houses they wanted, low-rise apartments like these. The bureaucrats, planners, and architects told them that it was uneconomical, that only high-rise blocks would work. They were wrong.
A lot of people have this view that the disadvantaged, if you will, have no idea of what their problems are and how to resolve them, that it takes outside professionals to do that. And we say that's baloney, because the outside professional does not feel in his gut what a woman on welfare with 6 kids living off $100 a month in a deteriorated building feels. She can come up with solutions much better than a bureaucrat.
The intentions of this local community group are good. They want to rebuild the community as the community wants.
I said, are you pretty pleased with the work we're doing?
Yes, I am very pleased with it.
But government money always corrupts. Look at the number of people rebuilding this garage. It doesn't make sense, except that these are CETA workers paid for by taxpayers' money. Government funds have allowed the organization to take over a whole area of Chicago. They now have their own supermarket. They've built splendid houses for middle-class occupiers, very expensive, protected by the latest security systems, all at the taxpayer's expense.
In a sense, TWO is rapidly becoming a mini-government. At this particular point, we have approximately 400 employees. We have an operating budget of in excess of $5 million a year. So we are large.
Large and expanding. Their next project is to redevelop this site. And that's only the first step in a 20-year plan that will cost $220 million, most of it coming from the taxpayers. In the South Bronx, they're very familiar with government protection, like the rent controls that made it uneconomic for landlords to maintain their buildings. They've moved out and the vandals have moved in. The South Bronx is an area where many of the people are on welfare and where the crime rate is high. But all this could change. A group of local people has begun to renovate these buildings, to build new homes. They call themselves sweat equity, because at first sweat and effort was all they could put into the project. Only later did they accept a small government grant. How long ago did you start working on this building?
4 months ago. On this building, right here.
And I take it what you got to do is gut the whole thing from beginning to end.
Right, totally gutted.
And you'll have to rewire.
Put new walls up, new floors, new ceilings, new everything. Worked in the winter, worked in the summer, worked when I had the chance to work.
How many people have you got working here?
A good 40 people.
How do you keep them working? You know, some of them must want to get tired of it and pull off and so on. So how do you...
Try to keep them interested. We show them what could be done in the future, what will be done in the future. And they get, well, at first, it's kind of hard to prove to somebody that in the next 3 or 4 years, what will come out of it. They can't see it in the long-range term. They only see it in the short run. They need money right now, and not in 2 and 3 years.
Sure.
So we try to show them that it will happen.
It's true they now accept some government money, but so far, they've managed to retain their original philosophy that the best way to get something done well is to do it yourself.
Okay, like what we're doing, we're bringing people out of the street, giving them something to look forward to. They have their own apartment, they'll be taking care of the area around it, they have a garden, they have something to look forward to. They can even get off welfare, we can even get them a job. So they can drop the welfare and have some self-pride. That's the whole thing about it, self-pride. Because as long as you're collecting from the government and sitting back, you have no worries. We're not sitting back, we're working. We're making that money come in. And we're putting it into our building. We're we're building ourselves up as well as the building.
Some of these people are CETA workers, paid for by the taxpayer. But this isn't as useful as it might appear. You ask these fellows, which would they rather have, the CETA workers or the money that's being paid to the CETA workers? Which would you rather have?
The money pays to the CETA.
That's your answer? That's very expensive help. In terms of what these people could use with the money, you give these people the amount of money you're paying to that CETA workers, and I'll bet they'll have twice as much, 3 times as much work out of them. Am I wrong?
You're right. You're right. Exactly.
So that's a very inefficient way to use that money. The problem is you've got a bureaucracy, and the government bureaucrats, they want to decide what to do. They don't want to let you decide what to do.
Exactly.
Ask yourself, how did this place get built up in the first place? After all, this was a pretty respectable, solid, substantial region when it was first developed. It wasn't done through a government project. It was done by people individually, having an incentive to put up these buildings and occupy them. What these people we've been seeing here are doing is they're trying to restore that feeling and that attitude. You'll have a far healthier community here if it grows out of the self-help of people like the people we've been talking to than if it's a paternalistic venture undertaken by governmental civil servants and bureaucrats who have to plan on a large scale for other people. We must find a way to give everyone caught in the welfare trap the kind of initiative these people have. The best, or should I say the least bad solution I have ever been able to devise is something called the negative income tax. This is the idea that we should get rid of a large part of the welfare bureaucracy and of the demeaning rules, that we should help people who are poor fundamentally by giving them money. With the positive income tax, you're entitled to a certain amount of personal exemptions and deductions, and above that amount you pay tax. But suppose you have no income. Under a negative income tax, a fraction of your unused exemptions would be paid to you by the government, guaranteeing at least a minimum income. If you earned something, you'd still get a fraction of your unused exemptions, and you'd end up better off. As your earnings rose, the supplement to your income would become smaller and smaller until your earnings equaled your exemptions. At that point, you'd break even, neither paying tax nor receiving a subsidy. It's not an ideal system. It's not the system we might have liked to get into, but it's a system which would have the effect of eliminating the separation of the society into those who receive and those who pay, a separation that tends to destroy the whole social fabric. It would mean that we could each of us take advantage of opportunities that opened up without fearing that if by some chance we lost our jobs, it would be a long time before we could get back on assistance. It would be a system that would give all of us an incentive gradually to improve our lives, would perhaps enable us over time to work ourselves out of the kind of mess we've gotten ourselves into. A mess we've gotten ourselves into for the very best of motives, but with the very worst of results. We have become increasingly dependent on government. We have surrendered power to government. Nobody has taken it from us. It's our doing. The results? Monumental government spending. Much of it wasted. Little of it going to the people whom we would like to see helped. Burdensome taxes. High inflation. A welfare system under which neither those who receive help nor those who pay for it are satisfied. Trying to do good with other people's money simply has not worked.